friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average Canadian wolf pack come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. Each week, we will bring you new episodes sharing our experiences on a ton of different topics in hopes that we get a better understanding of ourselves, each other, and this crazy world we live in. We want to build a community where we can show up as ourselves, be real, and lay it all out there. By sharing our experiences, we hope to reach others who can relate so we can all help each other learn, grow, and heal. But please keep in mind, as a disclaimer, none of us here are professionals, no one is giving any advice. We are strictly speaking of our life experiences and for entertainment purposes only. Now, with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Be Real Babe podcast. I'm your host, Brandy, and here with me today is my beautiful co-host, Kayla. Hey, girl.
Hey, love. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am peachy. I am quite excited about what we're doing. So, just aside, with this episode and last episode, I'm just very thrilled about the direction we're going here. So I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, and the support that we've had, especially through this month and seeing all the women coming together and sharing their stories and their experiences and just feeling so connected to each other and less alone and empowered is it's been really great for us and for our guests and hopefully for our community. And I agree with you. I just love, every time we have a guest, every time we get together, we're just learning more and more. And I feel so grateful for it. I mean, it's a rainy day here in the Okanagan, but I'm still super sunshining happiness still.
Me too. I feel that. That's such a vibe right now. Like, we got blessed over here in BC the last couple of weeks with that sunshine. So I'm still feeling like that euphoric sense of we had 2 weeks of that. And I'm just I'm good. Like, my skin's brown. I feel alive. It's just, this is a really good, we've connected. I think we've connected a lot. And on the last one, especially hearing your story. So it's just, I'm really excited and I can't stress enough how much I love that we do this.
Yeah. And I agree totally. And it feels so good. I mean, I was a little nervous for it. And then after it was released, it just felt so freeing and made me feel really grateful for what we've built and what we are trying to build. And then the outreach after, and then hearing the girls' stories from last episode. And then now wrapping up with kind of the end to the reproductive month with childbirth, and then going on to fitness next month. And then one day we will touch back again on women's health and more of an overall health. But it was just really nice. I think a lot of girls got to hear and women got to hear different sides of all different experiences when it comes to reproductive health and birth control and pregnancy and loss and all of it. And it just felt really good to give everyone a voice to share their stories. So I hope everyone enjoyed that as much as we did. And we grew a lot. I think every month so far, we're going into month 3 pretty soon. Every month for me, I feel like I kind of grow a little bit more and more, and it's insane.
100%. We talked about that because we talk, everyone needs to know. Brandy and I talk every day. So there's never a major disconnect. And we've actually, we've been able to come together on some pretty intense stuff. And both of us realize where we're growing, and it's super cool. And I hope that that's what's happening for our listeners, because it's crazy. When we started this, I had no idea the impact we would make on people, because we're telling our stories. We're inviting other people to come and tell their stories. And then there's people out there who probably thought they were alone or never heard anyone else talk about what they've experienced. So it's oddly enough that we're doing that. And it's mind blowing to try and wrap my brain around that simple fact is we're making an impact. That blows my mind.
It does. And I remember when we first started, like we said, we're just okay, well, we're just going to I'm oh, let's just make an Instagram and we'll just share it with our friends. And then we'll see what they think. And then when we get good feedback, we'll just put it out there to other people. And then it just, by whoopsies, that didn't happen. And I'm really glad it happened that way. But yeah, we're just so overwhelmed and grateful and just super thankful for, you know, every single person, and to see that, you know, it's not just one episode, that you guys are jumping into other ones, even if maybe those topics don't relate to you. Hopefully you resonate with some sort of tool or piece of advice or guest, and, you know, reach out to them if you have any more questions. Like, that's the biggest thing, and every single guest will tell you, like, we're here to hear what you have to say and to share your stories, and if there's something you want to talk about, we're here to talk about it. And it's been awesome, and I still can't wait. Like, some days I panic, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about next? And then I start thinking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we have content until next year, okay, never mind.
We have content until the fucking earth burns up, my friend. We have
I
so
know,
much
right?
to talk about. So much to talk
It is.
about. I love that.
Okay, fair. So before we squirrel again, although that was great, and I really love hearing all the episodes, especially that 90s throwback. Like, if you guys have a second to listen to a light one, it was just really funny to hear a bunch of people are being like, oh, I remember having those things, and I remember that time. So it was a really good month, and I'm glad that we're going to end this with childbirth. So again, guys, if childbirth isn't something you necessarily are feeling safe to listen to, we understand. Join us on the next month when we talk more about fitness. But today, obviously, I'm not going to be able to share too much or anything at all, rather, on labor. I will explain a little bit more, probably, of one little story, if I can, about my why I'm terrified of labor. But mostly this is going to be Kayla's time to tell us her experience with labor. But before we do, I just want to explain one thing of why it terrifies me, for those that don't know. My mom's first childbirth after me, my brother, she struggled really hard, and I was 12 years old, and there was nurses flying in and out. There was like, I thought my mom was dying. I thought my brother that was coming out was dying. And again, I was at 12, so it was a formidable age. And I'm just watching this, and for hours on end, this went on. And he had scars on his face when he came out. Like, it was very difficult. She made it through, yeah, but it was like terrifying for me. And that was like my first like real memory of labor, and
Holy
it did
fuck.
scar me quite a bit, because I was like, not only am I losing my mom, I'm gonna lose my brother, and like, oh, it was a wild time. So anyways, that was my first experience with labor. So, you know, we have a little bit of stressful time after that. And right away, when she went to have my second brother, it was like, yeah, no, you're having a C-section. There's no question about that. So I got to watch my mom kind of go through both sides of it. So that's kind of like my little bit of knowledge. But yeah, I'll let Kayla more jump into that, since she has actual knowledge, but that's where some of my PTSD comes from.
Dude, I want to talk about your PTSD, because you were what, 12?
12, yeah, when my brother
was
born.
Fuck that. Like, if I was fucking if that happened, I would have never had cash. Like, I straight up I never watched a birth happen, because I was like, in my head, I was like, you know what will happen if you watch one of those birthing videos? You will harbor that baby inside, and they will have to physically go and take him out of you, because like, there's no way I'll birth no way.
Yeah, so I wasn't like necessarily in the room. I was outside the hallway, but like watching, and like it being hours, and hearing and watching doctors, good nurses, like flooding in and out, and just like having no answers, and everyone saying it's okay, and the whole family's like stressed out, and like, and then obviously I seen like the aftermath of both the boys. Like, my mom was there, I was there to help her, so I seen like what happens down there, and all that kind of stuff, and like the healing that goes from both, like from having an intense delivery with my first brother to having a C-section with my second brother, and also her having her fibro and our car accidents and all that. Like, there was a lot to it. So I learned a lot on that end that most kids probably don't get to see as much, because, you know, I was there to support my mom at that age. So although I've never been through the labor and delivery process, I've definitely been my mom's like go-to gal during her times. And I was 12 and then 15 for the second one.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Okay.
And then being told at like 16, like, oh, you might not be able to have babies. I'm like, well,
cool. Thanks.
Good. Just kidding. But you know, at first I was like, well, I mean, if it's going to fucking end one of those two ways, I mean, really, Yeah, I'm not really that upset about it right now, to be honest with you. I am still trying to swallow this. So, anyways, though, girl, let's get into yours because it's kind of, I loved how we set it up because if you haven't heard of Kayla's pregnancy, we have a whole episode dedicated to that in episode 11. So, listen to it however you want to. But if you haven't yet, jump back to that one. But for your childbirth, my dear, your due date, were you on time, overdue? Let's jump into your childbirth story.
So I was actually a week overdue, and I blame this on my own self. And I know that sounds, but this is the first time a lot of people are going to hear me say this out loud. So it's like spoiler, but not. I did not listen to the doctor at all when I was pregnant. I was a proud bitch, and I was like, you don't fucking know me. You can't tell me how much weight I'm going to gain. Like, what do you think this is? No way. I'll eat the whole cake. And then
My life.
I gained, how much did I weigh? I was 160 when I found out, and I walked into the hospital, I think, at 201. So I gained more than I needed to. And I think that had more to do with, and I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but like, I don't know, if you were growing in an incubator and it was warm and cozy and you just kept getting fed all the shit, would you want to come out? I wouldn't want to come out.
Nope.
So he was a week overdue. That was that.
That's fair. And honestly, and we'll get into this episode, guys. We're going to also we did a really great poll and it was amazing. There's so much engagement on it. So we're going to jump into this a little bit more, but that was like the general consensus was about within a week, couple weeks overdue. So that's, I love, not nice. Love it, but I like how that's pretty friggin' dialed in for the most part. So for you, did you have a birth plan? And if you did, can you, even though I know nothing about them, can you walk me through them? I
definitely had one. As you heard on my pregnancy episode that I'm neurotic and I have neurotic self tendencies. So I definitely had a plan, and that plan was like, Tyler's going to be home. I'm going to have my go bag ready. We're going to go to the hospital once I start feeling like I can't control this anymore. And then I'm going to have him vaginally and everything's going to be fine. There's going to be sunshine and fucking rainbows coming out of my butt. Like, no, that was not the way it went, but like it mostly went my way. So I did have a plan. Yeah, that was basically it. Like, I was just like, you know how we've talked about my need to control? And if we haven't, then here we go, people. I have a severe need to control, like, fucking everything. And that's my own shit. I'm working through it. Me and Brandy always talk about it. When I have to control things. So I was like extremely intense about Tyler being home. So at the time he was out, it was like, we didn't know. I had no idea whether he'd be there or not. So that was terrifying. But at the end of the day, I had my mom. My mom came with me to my Lamaze classes. She came and held my hand. She sat with me. We talked about all the information. She took me to most of my appointments if I couldn't take myself. For the most part, I'm a pretty like independent bitch. So I took myself to a lot of things. But you know, when you get pregnant, you kind of really don't you don't expect your partner to be gone. Really? No. But that was just our lifestyle, you know. He was 30, 40 days out at a time and then would come home for a week or two and then be gone again for 30, 40 days. Like, he didn't ever do just 30-day hitches. They'd always be 40, 50. Like, they were fucking long. And so I just got used to being by myself and doing everything on my own. And then, you know, it was challenging because I worked in a fucking concrete shop when I was pregnant. Like, I worked for my dad, and I worked up until I was fucking, I think it was September 24th, and I had him October 10th. I was like a stickler. I was like, nope, I have to work as I possibly can. I'm basically going to work until it comes out. My dad's like, okay.
Probably not.
No.
Go home.
And then Tyler was also like, no. He didn't even want me to be working. He was so mad that I was working. And I'm like, what the fuck are we going to do? You know, we can't rely on your rig job all the time because, hello, spring breakup. Plus, this thing is like up and down all the time. Him and I, throughout the duration of our relationship, really not that, but it affected us. So my neurotic tendencies were not that neurotic if you think about it. Because I was like, if I work as long as possible, then I will have as long as possible on my mat leave. Like I will have as close to the time that I need before I have to go back to work. And so that's pretty much how it went. And yeah, it was a lot. So my birth plan just was, I wanted everyone to be where they needed to be. And I needed to have everything that I needed in my bag. We'll get into this. This is actually fucking hilarious how it happened later. Like nothing, as I was typing it out, I felt like my birth plan went to plan, but it kind of didn't. So we'll go there.
Let's jump in then. So Kayla, when your baby came, did you get to successfully follow through with your birth plan?
So like for the most part, yes, because there was no challenges in the regards that he wasn't breached or anything like that. There was no emergency C-section, which, I mean, that takes nothing. Let me just say this. That takes nothing away from becoming a mother. No matter how your baby comes into this world, that is a fucking badge of honor you wear with pride.
Yep.
So there's that. He was not the right facing direction. He was, I think they're supposed to be facing down.
Yep.
And he was facing up.
Okay.
In the birth canal, trying to turn around like a fucking whale in there.
No.
So, I had super, super bad back labor. And this, I will tell you, to this day, when I get my period, I was telling Ryan yesterday, I feel like I'm in active fucking labor. And I have since yesterday, and it's intense. So, there's that.
Honestly, I think when I was a teen and my cramps were that bad, it was always my lower back. And I always felt like, oh God, this is like a mild feeling, but like amplify this, and this is fucking back labor. This is
well,
it.
And
I
then,
know it.
Yeah, no, and you're not wrong, because especially for women who have painful ones. And it's like, the thing is, I never had a painful period before. Like I remember getting, when I was a teenager, they were, I would get the cramps and the little bit of pain and everything. But after, and this is weird, but I feel like ever since I had the epidural, nothing's been the same.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
So when we got to the hospital and he came out, no, it didn't really go. Like I wrote in the beginning that yes, it went pretty much the way we wanted it to. But there was nothing that could have ever prepared me for the pain that is involved in back labor. It literally felt like, I don't want to scare anybody, but like even yesterday, today, my description of what I've been feeling has been, I got hit by a truck or trampled by a herd of horses or a train. You know, if you're like some in the action movies when you're running and you fall and you're on the train tracks and the train's coming, it's like you only got so much time. You better get the fuck off that track or it's going to take your legs. That's the train's taking my legs. That's how I feel.
It's done. It's done.
But
you know what though? And it's not to scare anyone, but I think our biggest fact that we want to bring forward is that it's better to be aware that these are things that could happen. So when it's happening, you don't feel alone, or B, you're not shocked, because most of us are thinking, okay, maybe it's just like,
what the fuck is this?
Yeah, or that it's not normal, or just knowing that's going to be a thing. I think if you want a baby, you've heard of the horror stories. So it's either like you're going to do it and hope that you're going to have the nicest, prettiest one, but be prepared that it might not, and you're normal for that. And there's nothing, no matter how your conception or your pregnancy or your birth goes, everyone's unique. You all are amazing women and are all just, no shame and no held in guilt for how that all pans out or fear mongering. It's just facts.
Yeah. And like, we're warriors. So that's that. Like, don't ever let anyone tell you that, in vitro or whatever, like adoption, even I'll slap someone if someone tells you you're not a parent because you adopted. Like I will fucking lose it. So everybody, parents, gay parents, not gay parents, like saying, all parents and women and things, you are warriors for the shit you do. So just know that and honor it in any way you can.
Totally. And so, I mean, you already answered the question. So then I just want to say this. Did you have a cesarean or a vaginal birth?
Vaginal. I should have had a cesarean. We'll get into that when I tell you how big this motherfucker was.
And was just out of curiosity, because I know this has changed a lot from, like, for example, for when my mom had my brothers to now, to even when she had me, like cesareans were usually more as like medically needed, not necessarily something that you got to schedule in. Where I feel more now is that I don't know if it's doctors or what have changed, but you hear women having them more and more, and I don't know if that's just like being able to predict stuff medically earlier, or if they're just allowing women to have that choice more now. I'm not sure. Was that something that was a choice that you got to make? Or
it was a choice for me. The thing with my doctor was, and this is where, so her and I had challenges from the beginning, very like weight conscious, and that to me felt ridiculous for someone to try and limit you or limit what you're doing while you're pregnant. But looking back, I really see that I was just in a vulnerable place in my mind, and I was taking what she was saying personally as if she was fat shaming me while I was pregnant. But I realize now that was not what she was doing. And if I would have listened to her a little more or a little better, I probably wouldn't have gained as much extra weight as I did, and I probably wouldn't have stretched out as much as I did. But because I was a proud little bitch, I was like, nah, fuck you. I'm going to eat the fucking cake.
I do what I want. I'm doing
Pulled
this
some Mary Antoinette shit, like fucking rights. Like I was like, no, fuck this bitch. She's and I am aware now. It's been 5 years, my friends. My son is 5. I just bought a bikini that I fucking shared with Brandy, and I'm hella pumped about it because I've limited myself to, you have stretch marks and saggy ass tits, you can't wear bathing suits like that. The fuck I can't.
You just need to find the ones that fit you properly. And we don't wear clothes. We don't wear clothes to fit into sizes. We find stuff that suits our bodies, because everyone's different. And we know that the fashion and fitness industries, there's really great people. There's already really shitty people. And they are, to these days, making sizes smaller and smaller. So we need to, again, turn the conversation into, no, that's not going to work for me, to finding one that does fit your body shape and sizes, because everything's different. So for me, like, because I have a long torso and long legs, I don't pull off some of the cute shorter ones, because it literally crops off half of my lower half, and it makes me look so funny. I have to have the ones that go up and over my hip bones, because that's just the way my body looks. So
it accentuates
that look. Yeah, the cute ones that like you have, like that are like, you know, higher waisted, it makes me look way longer. But then alternatively, the short ones make me look weird too. So I have to also find like some that are higher up, but they're like lower cut. So it's like, but for a long time I was like, oh, something's wrong with your body, or my butt looks like a sausage coming out of it. Like there's this, it doesn't.
I feel the same. Fuck.
Or like a unibutt, and it's just let it out. Let the
unibutt.
Yeah, like I don't have uniboob. I can't understand that, but I understand unibutt. So let the cheeks out. And it was more or less, I was the same way. I hate my body, but then I started like, okay, I just need to find. So then I found certain cuts that were like, oh my gosh, this feels really good. It looks good no matter what. And then I just bought more of that, instead of, you know, like hating all the old, like even bathing suits from last year do not fit me the same, because my body is changing. At first I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, no, like your ass grew, you know, like
you've been putting in work.
Right, exactly. And but I was just like, no, we buy clothes to fit our bodies now, right? Not we find clothes and try to make our bodies fit into them. So fuck that. I'm so proud of you. It is really great. And I hope other moms are inspired to just like find the clothes that make you feel fire, and don't hold that shame for it. So back to this child.
Back to it. Back
labor,
to the
birthing. Did you have medication or not medication?
All right. So this one's funny. I'm laughing now because I had a bit of a colorful childhood as an adolescent, and I really just was like a YOLO type of kid. So, I think that there was not 1 second where I was like, I'm gonna try to do this naturally. I knew from the fucking second I found out I was pregnant that there was gonna be a lot of drugs involved.
Yep.
And there were very many. For me, what it was is basically the fear surrounding the unknown. Was very off-putting for me, and since I've had my son and had time to think, like basically what I'm going to tell you is what I think, and I feel like this is very similar for a lot of other parents, but you really don't know what's happening until you have one. Now that I've had a kid and he was fucking huge and it was an intense ass fucking labor, I'm like, all right, and now I know. And I'm pretty sure that was as fucking harsh as it gets. Outside of medical emergencies, like there's nothing you could do to this body that I would not be prepared for now.
Fair.
So yeah, I'm looking at now definitely like I went from being I need to be in a hospital and have all the drugs to I want a fucking doula who has hairy armpits and fucking wants to birth my child in the tub in my living room.
As natural as possible. And I think that's totally fair. And again, it comes with age and experience and working with your anxiety and stuff too, to being like, okay, you know what, I'm stronger. And too, like for me, I think if I was to do it first time, I would rather do the same thing. Let's go where where I feel like more the professionals are. I'll just like in my mind have this more sense of safety,
Protection,
and
safety, yeah, for
protection with
sure.
the doctors, whether, and then I would be the same way if I was to do it a second time. Maybe I'd look to more the holistic way, but also the stress and anxiety of having your first one. I'm not saying that it gets easier, but the second time, at least you have a little bit more of an idea of how it could go and all that. So I totally, yeah, I love that. And I think too, you're also in a life where you are just more in that natural and more I'm feel powerful AF. So I think that that lines to who you are now with age. So then how long exactly were you in labor?
Okay, so I had put 24 hours, but if I look at it, so I went in on Friday the 9th. Yeah, the 9th. I went in at 11 o'clock Friday the 9th because I was scheduled to be induced. And because he was a week overdue. So the second that they put that fucking thing up there, I think it's a suppository. It's a pill that dissolves and it helps thin the lining of your cervix. You're welcome,
Okay.
boys. Welcome.
Thank you. I enjoyed that too.
So that happened at 11 a.m. on Friday, October 9th. And basically ever since I got induced at the hospital, like by them, I've started to feel active like contractions. So I was contracting from 11 a.m. Friday. I made it all the way until 11 p.m. that night. So that's 12 hours of just trying to labor, which was intense. I did walking. I did you guys could, I think I have pictures and I'll try to see if my mom can send them to me, but I have the yoga ball or whatever, where I'm literally like in child's pose, kind of just arms hanging over it, trying to roll across and just relieve the pressure in my back. And then I'm laying on the stairs. I'm also laying on the couch and I'm just, I look like a cow. Like, and that's not like in a mean reference, but like I encourage somebody to just go online and watch a cow birthing and like listen to the way it breathes. And that was me. That's all I mean by that. That was me.
Cute.
A whole lot of all that. Because it was very like, I don't know what's happening. I was like, Mom, this doesn't feel like, I don't know, is it? And at the same time, I'm saying this to a woman that had endometriosis. So I was like, in my own pregnancy brain was having like dumbass moments where I'm asking my mom if it should hurt like this. And she's like, I don't fucking know. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing then?
Why am I here? Why did I sign up for this?
So yeah, so 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. go to the hospital because I can't handle it anymore. And I'm like, give me some fucking drugs because Jesus, this hurts. And yeah, so 11, I got there at 11 at night. They didn't check me. And I don't know I don't remember what the process was. They couldn't fully admit me because my water hadn't broke. So we were just in a waiting period. So they gave me, what did they give me? What was the first? Morphine. They gave me morphine when I got there. And I'm walking around and I remember my mom being there. I remember Tyler's mom being there. I remember Tyler being there. And one of my workers, one of my close girlfriends at the time was a coworker. She just happened to also be there. So she was walking around with me and we were trying to just naturally make this mofo slide the fuck out. I was in so much fucking like in my subconscious, I was in so much pain that I literally was just stopping myself. My body was like, no, fuck this. No way. No way in hell. Nuh-uh. Nope. Not coming out.
Yeah.
That went on till about 2 a.m. I went to the hospital 11 at night and then that went on till about 2 a.m. Finally, I'm like this motherfucker is not coming out. And we go, I remember walking with Megan and we're going back to the front area where, because I'm on my probably second round of morphine at this point, and I am fucked, you guys. I remember sitting in the waiting room and they've got these kids' toys. And there was this little Dracula doll that if you like pulled his arm, he went, whoa, ha, 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 ha. And I just fucking couldn't get enough of it. But cracking up, pushing his little arm around, and then I'd mimic it, and everyone's like, "What is she fucking doing?" And I'm like, "I'm high as shit." Like, what? Forgot what I was doing in the hospital. I'm like, "All right, I'm huge." And then, so 2:00 comes around. We're just making our way back to the front desk, and next thing I know, it's like I have like fire hydrant has released in my pants, and I don't have a penis, so I don't know what the fuck that was all about. I'm like standing there in my fucking flippy boys and my sweats, and I am just covered. And I look at the fucking receptionist like, I'm sorry, I just pissed all over your floor. And she starts laughing, and I start laughing because I'm high. I'm like, I just pissed all over your floor. Huh? She's like, no. She starts laughing. She's like, no. I don't think that's pee, sweetheart. She comes over, legitimately takes 2 fingers and kind of rubs her fingers together. Your water just broke. We're going to admit you now. And I'm like, can we just talk about how you just felt my pants with like the Kate? As if I was like, right? I'm like, we're not going to talk about that. But it was just like the quick determination. Is it pee or is it fucking this? And so she was able to tell by the viscosity or whatever you call it.
It's go time.
It was go time. So that was that. And then I didn't have him. So if everyone's keeping track, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Didn't get admitted until 2 a.m. and then was in full on contraction till about, what the fuck time did he come out of me? 4:24 the next day, Saturday.
Oh my.
So yeah, it was it's a 24-hour period.
It was a 24-hour period. Is there anything else of your labor experience we missed besides how large he was? But before we talk about the exit of him and the rest, is there anything more in the labor that you want to cover?
So for how long I was in labor, I remember being really fucked up. Like I was in and out of it, and had 2 bouts of morphine, and then when I went into full on labor, they put me on a fentanyl drip because it was bad. Like I was like, I was convulsing almost. I'm just remembering it. Like I'm just going like limp for a second in my body and trying to remember it.
But now I don't want to re-trigger any trauma in your body.
So the thing like it was a lot, and I just remember being in and out of it. And I just the one thing I can say is like my mom was a fucking rock star. She was there with me through the entire thing. I remember there was even probably where she was like, I wouldn't say push Tyler out of the way, but just straight up was like, nope, I got this. Like I can get her through this. I got this. Like she's always for me. So to be able to have my mom in the labor room and have her see my son come out of my body and to be able to give her that like inside experience, although she's never had it for herself, but to be able to witness her own child that she raised give birth was like nothing that made us closer than I don't say now. There's literally nothing I don't say. I'll call my mom up and be like, yo, mom, I got weird period blood. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And there's no shame, and like, that alone was such a bonding experience.
Totally. I love that. And she's always been there. She's always been there to tell you, like, you got this, right? So to have her there for that, for you, and then to share that intimate part of a journey that, although she's super stoked to have you, that's not the way she got to receive you. And she got to see that in a different, and I think that's such a beautiful connection for her and Cash too, right?
Oh, it was huge. Like, also low key, like not to be petty, like my parents were kind of not really together. And so I feel like for my mom to be there with me and also see him born first was kind of like, it was a big deal for her. And whether it's ever admitted or not, like, I know she felt good being the first to see him. And
yeah, and having
I'm kind of happy to give that to her, and having to have been able to give that to her. And my dad and everything, everyone was still like super involved, and I love everyone that was involved. You know, my mom's partner and my dad's partner, everyone was awesome. So I just like, it was just a different thing. And then yeah, I remember, so yeah, really in and out of it. And then when the time came, because there was something to do with the anesthesiologist, couldn't get him in because he was in another surgery. And I remember looking at the nurse with those like, I'm gonna stab people eyes.
Yep.
And the fuck do you guys only have one anesthesiologist? I said, how many people come in here and they gotta wait for this motherfucker to get out of surgery? What? I'm like, why don't you have more than one? And she's like, I'm like, why aren't you answering me? And like, oh my God, I was such a twat. I feel so bad, like in a lot of ways for these people. I had one nurse that I was like, this is the nurse this is the one. She was the OG of nurses. And I'll bring you guys back to it. Like, I just want to see, okay, we're going to go into labor experience here after, but I remember feeling him on my body and hearing him cry for the first time. And that was the most magical thing I've ever experienced. Because when you go from having you go from finding out you're pregnant to the whole, oh, is it a boy or a girl, to the heartbreak of it being a boy, like you go through all these little moments of insane shit. Like they're not like little, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not like milestones. Yeah, that's what it is. They're not little milestones, because when you get to that final point when it's like go time, there is nothing greater than hearing that baby cry when it comes out. It's like, I'm gonna cry thinking about it. I actually remember it. They pulled him out of my body, and it was so quick, so quick. And next thing I know, the nurse is right there. There's about, I feel like there's 10 of them, but there's probably only like 5. One of the OG nurse pulls up my nightie or whatever, this stupid fucking cover they give you when you're in the hospital. It's useless. It's dumb. They need to fix it, update it, something. Anyways, he pulls it up. My huge ass boobs are out. She just plops that little guy right there on my chest. And I don't know. I felt him breathe. I heard him make a little whimper. Then he cried. And then I'm crying because it's like, oh my, is this real? Am I fucked up? Are you here? Is this happening? And
yeah,
there was a lot. So that was, it was really hard to determine how I felt. There was a lot of things have them on the flip side with me, but yeah, there was a lot going on.
And so many emotions. So how big was Mr. Cash?
Cashman was 10 pounds, 6 ounces, and 22 inches long. And that fucking doctor told me he was going to be 8 pounds. So she was like, it's fine. Well, also, he was a week overdue. So I was like, anything that I was eating, he was like, just taking it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so she was not typically a doctor who delivers big babies, which is why she was so adamant about weight. And that now it all makes sense. Like, I feel like my labor might not have been as intense if he wasn't as big. And she told me after, had she known or thought that he would have been that, she would have put me through a vaginal. And they were very, very, very impressed that I didn't tear from my butthole to my pussy. And I'm going to say it just like that, because that's how it was.
No, that's totally fair. My mom, and that was the thing with my brother too. He was like 10.7 or 10.9, and it was like, okay, yeah, probably, hindsight now should have been that. So then I guess if you could go back with the final question here, if you could go back, would you do anything different?
100%. So ladies, especially like just all you ladies out there, if anybody comes up to you and tells you shit about anything while you're trying to be healthy and do your pregnancy your own ass way, I almost fully give you permission to slap that motherfucker or that bitch, because no one should be coming up to you and giving you fucking pregnancy advice because it's not their goddamn body.
Yeah, fair.
So I'm like, I'm going to be hostile. That sounds really hostile, but like,
no, that's okay.
I got literally pushed mentally out of the gym at a point when I shouldn't have stopped, because someone said I was going to hurt my baby. And I just want to say, fuck you. Okay? Fuck you for fucking thinking that you had that it was your place to come and say that to me. First of all, coming from a fucking dude.
Yeah.
How many babies have you pushed out your son?
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Then your
No
fucking
uterus.
opinion is invalid. Unless you're a doctor or my doctor. No, we're gonna not even a doctor, because we got a lot of ignorant ass people out there. But unless you're a doctor of the woman of the baby, don't say anything. Encourage them. Empower them. Because
Educate
I
them.
stopped. Yeah, educate. Like, and do not take it upon yourself, motherfuckers, to just go to women that you have no experience or position to do so. I'm sorry. And like, the person who said this thing to me had women who had kids. And I'm like, yeah, in fucking 1960, bro, get the fuck out of my face. It's 2014.
And everyone has a different experience in like life. And like we said, that's that.
So much hostility.
Oh, and no, that's okay. Obviously, we didn't get that out in the pregnancy one as much as we needed to. But, and like, I think there's an equal side to that, because, you know, where you went and you were going to the gym, that person had no right to tell you that you shouldn't go to the gym. You know, had you know that now, you're in a space to be like, okay, thanks for your opinion. I know what I'm doing. It's safe for me. I'm cleared with my doctor. It's good. But on the flip side, you know, being in a space where your doctor's like, you know, I find it kind of upsetting that she would sit there and say, you know, like, worry about your weight, but not explain to you, hey, you know why I'm saying this? I'm not saying this because it's like an aesthetic thing or anything like that. But if you are more conscious of this, your baby might be a little bit, a few pounds lighter, therefore easier delivery.
Simpler,
based on your genetics, right? But instead, the way it was delivered was almost like a fat shame or a weight shame, which while you're going through all of this is hard as a normal person, let alone going through your pregnancy hormones. Had she said that and those people had delivered those things in safely manners, like, like, you know, just learn to deliver.
We could have avoided a few different things.
Exactly. So when people are coming, like, if you're ever going to talk about it, make sure you're coming at a place where you're trying to educate and help them and know that you're talking to them about, like, I don't think you should say it, but that being said, like with the doctor, you know, if you are a healthcare, like learning your bedside manners on how to deliver that and educating your patient to say, hey, not saying that's the main reason, but here are some statistic reasons and scientific data that has said this, and not saying you're going to have an easier labor, but potentially, instead of like, you know, her being like, then, oh yeah, I told you about this. Like, but okay, but you made me feel shamed before that. Why didn't you educate me onto why, you know, that you were saying that?
Yeah.
Instead, you just made me feel like shit.
And a lot of it too is also like just me where I was at. Like I was, how old was I? 24. I was still really mentally vulnerable. I hadn't even begun any healing. So I was also operating from a place of just taking everything super personally, because that was my trauma response. It was like, oh, she's talking about that, so maybe that's obviously, and then, you know, the overthink and the anxiety, the overthink spiral happens, and pretty much now you're having a full-on conversation with yourself in your head with your doctor, and that's not even real. That's where I was coming from. So I also have my own thing in that, but it's like when I was an avid workout person, like I was shredded. Everybody knows it. Everybody's seen it. Everyone watched me go from a tiny little pipsqueak to a fucking freak of nature. And when I asked my doctor, when I got pregnant, I had that conversation. Work out. Do you know how many times basically what happened is I got asked so much, or had people interjected unsolicited opinions so many times, that it was like, I actually gave up because I was sick of explaining the fact that I was able to be there, because so many people just kept going, oh, but you know, it's really not good to do this overhead. And I'm like,
okay, let me live my life.
Cool. And then the doctor even said to me, she's like, no, there's, you know, you shouldn't try, you should know, like, don't be trying to deadlift 600 fucking pounds. Like, duh. Don't try to fucking clean and jerk something that's fucking 300 pounds. Obviously, fucking Karens of the world. Thanks. Fuck. Yeah. But it was just common sense. We're witnessing women who are highly athletic getting pregnant and still working out, and they're still fucking getting the stigmatized bullshit. And you know what? And I really hate to make this into a feminist fucking thing right now, but it's always men coming at women with their fucking dick ass opinions. And I say dick ass because they got dicks between their legs, swinging with their big ideas.
I think I have to like somewhat slightly disagree because I find a lot of catty women and judgmental women that are moms that
say
have done
cunty
things
things.
different. Yeah, because
okay,
I agree, men, but like maybe because I haven't been in it and maybe that's just what you've heard, but like I see more women where they're like passive aggressively
get a lot of
posting
that as well.
shame against others where they're not directly commenting on it, because at least then you can
Mm.
attack another people. What I get irritated is the passive aggressive posts that it's like, I'm not shaming this, I'm just saying I do it this way and this is the right way. I find that like kind of a little bit,
That's
no offense,
shaming.
like, it's like, yeah, because it's like passive aggressively not helping, and it like you can't really attack that. I will attack any man that's going to say that, or any person that's going to say that on a post, like, but like you passive aggressive folk, we see what you're doing too. Don't think you're not getting away with that. Like what
Yeah,
you're
no,
saying, at
it's
the end of the
yeah.
day, you it's unfortunate that you got pushed so far away from other people's comments without understanding and having just the universal respect that you're doing the right thing for you and your baby. And that pushed you into like almost the opposite, where you were resenting going and doing that stuff, which took something away that you loved and something that was healthier for you. So it's like, I'm glad you're in a better mindset that you wouldn't let that, get to you now, but it's still not fair. And people still need to be conscious of that. There's a balance where it's like, if someone's actually putting their baby in danger, for sure, say something. But either if not, how about you just like spark the conversation about it? Like, oh, this is awesome that you're continually doing this. Like, that's so cool. And be like, yeah. And I bet you that person be like, yeah, my doctor was like, yeah, go for it. You just can't do that. Like, done. You got your answer.
Done, right?
It's not even your a business, but you got the answer that you needed. That woman has got the okay from the doctor. You're good. Like, you don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to, you could just, if you're generally concerned, bring it up in a way that's like, oh, this is awesome for you doing that. Like, that's so cool that you're still on your fitness journey. And like, they'll probably tell you, yeah, my doctor, you know what I mean? And then done. You don't have to make it shameful or invasive or anything like that if you
Yeah.
genuinely care about someone's well-being, because we always know that things are rooted, but they come out on a personal deflection and it really hurts the recipient. And that's just what we're kind of, we're saying with that. So like,
yeah, it's
so
fucking
then
bad.
and then it just sparks more down the road for for all of those other things, and that's not fair to you. So like, I'm so glad that you can look back at that now and be like, oh yeah, well, I was in a space, but also still holding people accountable to just being wiser and more empathetic and understanding, and not deflecting when you're approaching a woman that's pregnant or whatever, because you just
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
just super weird, or projecting. Like the weirdest
It's,
thing ever was becoming pregnant and then becoming like, it literally was like I was under a microscope. Everyone's looking at me, everyone's asking me questions about my weight, and like then there's comments about how big my tits are getting, then there's like touching of the belly. It's like, what happens to people's brains when women get pregnant, but if we could just stop making them feel like guinea pigs in fucking labs, that would be cool. I would love to live in a world where a woman could just be pregnant. You know what I do when I see pregnant women? I smile. I just smile. I don't try to be creepy. I don't try to be like obsessively stiff. I literally just love to see them because they're glowing and they're beautiful. And if it looks like they're having a rough time, I just go, if I feel it's appropriate, I read the room. I really read the room. If I feel like it's appropriate, which most times I've never gotten a bad comment, but I'll just say something encouraging.
yeah, totally.
It gets better. You got this. Don't give up, like don't be so hard on yourself. Like I can read the room and I can always pregnant women, my God, I don't know what it's like. They got all the hormones happening, we got a lot going on. Our bodies are changing. We're going through shit we've never, and it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you've been pregnant once or if it's your first time or like your sixth time. Every time you get pregnant, it's a new journey. So like, just be compassionate and think about the shit that you say when you're fucking saying it. And if it's not something that you would receive very well, I encourage you to just flip it around a bit. You're doing and how you're saying it, because they're very delicate. They're very delicate, and it's like such a delicate time in a woman's life. Please don't be an ass.
Equally so, y'all are always telling us not to treat you like delicate flowers. So,
yes.
let's just say there's a balance, and
there's a balance.
let's
think
just be
about
great
these
to every
things.
woman, because the 9 to 10 months of pregnancy is intense,
A
and the
lot.
labor and delivery is intense. And just like, yeah, like you said, be kind and being aware of how, there's a balance where with everything, you don't want to baby people, but then you also don't want to like ask invasive questions. So generally in these
Yes, thank you.
circumstances, be more the listener and the support rather than the lead and the star of the show. Let pregnant women going through labor, or new moms, let them be this, like, not to be like that, but let them lead everything, and just support them in any way that you can. I think that's all that, not being through it, but from listening to you guys, that's mostly what you guys just need, is to be heard and validated, not shushed and told what to do. Just, how can I support, instead of this is how you should do things.
Yes, yes. And I mean,
Right.
also, I do understand the people that do come at you with the weird unsolicited things. I do understand that that is a bit of a, maybe they had. I'm not invalidating your experiences. I want people to know that. Like, I know I sound heated and hostile. That's just how I am. But like, when
You're
you're coming
justified.
to another woman with your experience, that's your experience. Your fear around your situation into another person, not the way to go about it. Just that
Nope.
is, you know what I mean? So don't just think about the things you're going to say, because if you go out and 90% of people are going to be mad about this, but a lot of times when you go out into the world and you're saying things to people, it's a projection. So I just be aware of that, and just really ask yourself, do I need to say this, or is that something that I'm resentful of and maybe I shouldn't say that?
Yeah,
That's kind of really all it is.
is this going to be healing, helpful, growing, advancement,
Yes.
or is this going to spark fear, other anxieties, and a deflection, or a reaction to something that I went through? So before we scroll too much back into our pregnancy,
Oh, frickin' squirreling.
that's okay, it's our pregnancy episode. Should we jump into the polls and see what our community had to say about their childbirthing?
Yeah, I think so. I think we covered it. Yeah, everyone's heard me essentially say that I was effed up. Very intense process. I had a lot
And
of
you're
trauma
better
around
equipped.
it, but I'm better equipped now. I'm actually, honestly, in this moment at 30, mortified thinking about it. I've made the conclusion that I maybe need a little more time, because there's still things that I need to heal, um, so that when I do it again, it's not as traumatizing. And though it was a weird thing, it was really strange for me, and that's all I'm gonna say is, like, everyone's heard my previous experience previous to being adopted. Like, when you go through all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of baggage that comes with it, and like, I'm still trying to heal, but there's like, I have a very deep wound in there that's makes it I how do I want to word it? I didn't feel connected to my labor or my birth experience. And that's more why I want to do it the holistic way a little better. Like, I just want to be very in tune with what's happening. And I think that's why it's gone. And my biological parent was a fucking druggie. So there's a lot in that. And I'm not shaming her. I'm just saying, like, I don't think I want to be all fucked up on narcotics anymore. I think I want to remember my pregnancy. I want to remember everything. I don't want to feel like there was fade outs, like I don't remember bits and pieces, like that's kind of scary. And so I would really like to just be connected. And with that, I think we're good to be rolling on over to the poll.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. You're like, I know that this was hard. I'm glad I've never regret anything. I'm glad I went through it. But I know how big it is. So I'm gonna wait until I feel like I'm in a better space to take it on, if it is this heavy the next time. And I think that's just growth. And I think that's amazing awareness. And you have tons of time.
Yeah, like, I don't want to just have, like, and it was weird because, like, at first I was like, oh fuck yeah, I want to have back to back. And like, I hear people, because that's the generic thing. That is society. That's, oh, you get a baby, you have another one right away. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's just not what I want to do. And I don't want to feel fucking shamed for it either.
No.
Maybe so Cash is 5. Maybe he's going to be 10 before I have another one. That is fine.
Yeah, it's your story. You definitely get to decide. And that's what I love about us breaking the stigma of, let's just, like, it's more important to do things like if you can when you're ready. I mean, it's to each their own, but that's just
Exactly.
like, that's great that you were there and you're able to learn from your experiences and be like, okay, I'm not ready for that right now, but maybe down the road I will be, or I'm not just going to do it because, you know, everyone's asking me to or pushing me to. I'm going to do it when I feel like I'm as ready as I can be. And I think
Yes.
that's all that we could ever do with our experiences in our life. And I love that. But yeah, let's flip over to the polls.
Let us flip.